In this video today, we want to have the fight Xiaomi Leica versus OPPO Hasselblad. So we are testing out the Leica Authentic versus the Hasselblad or OPPO Master Mode. So let's get started. We start out with the photos, 23mm. We have a slightly larger aperture on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra than on the OPPO. And what we can see here is we have this in the middle, like this little bit of a whitish kind of silhouette, spotlight feeling with a bit of like this corner, vignetting. We also have a bit of vignetting here on the OPPO, but by default it's not so pronounced. Yes, on the OPPO in the master mode you can change it, but by default you have this look. This also leads to the brickwork being a bit brighter overall, and interestingly enough, it doesn't look so contrasty like it usually should look like I would expect it to be. Nevertheless, we have a bit of more sharpening applied on the Xiaomi for sure. It appears to be a bit sharper, but it's artificial sharpening only. The detail level is almost on par between those two. And the green grass is also looking almost identical. There's just a slight bit of more warmth towards the OPPO's shot. And when we take a look at the next shot, you see how much more stylized it looks like on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. The OPPO Find X8 Ultra is having a bit more dramatic exposure. It is lets the sun blow out slightly to maintain the mood of this scene and creating a silhouette-like effect on the grass that you see here as well. So it's a bit of darkish there, where it's brightening stuff a lot more up on the Xiaomi, and the Xiaomi has better HDR. You see it here with the sky there especially. But also what you see is the true chroma sensor kicking in on the OPPO with more delicate transitions between the clouds and the blue of the sky, where it's a bit more sharpened up and not so nicely transitioned towards the blue of the sky. So a bit softer, a bit more natural looking, more camera-like, and a bit more digitally artifacted with a bit of stylized look on the 17 Ultra for sure. When we take a look at the macro-like capabilities, the 17 Ultra has a limit, so with its optical zoom range you cannot get so close, so you have to digitally crop in 2 times, but then you get something very similar towards what the OPPO is capable of doing. But the OPPO has way better natural background blur. It's a bit of warmish again, even though slightly greenish even here in the background. The detail levels are nice there, it's not over sharpening at all, where the Xiaomi is doing a bit of artificial sharpening, and it's also having a bit of more colder exposure here. Which one would you like better in this comparison here? I prefer the more stylish look that we have on the Find X8 Ultra to the more digitalized, sharpish look on the 17 Ultra. The X8 Ultra here with the tele sensor is creating a more softer look for sure. And you see that the 200 megapixel shines here a little bit with a bit more background blur, sharpness, and maybe a bit of details. No, it is extra sharpening, and it is just so much contrast that it adds here to everything. And this is not details that we have there. And here, if you look at the car, for example, how much sharpening there is applied. Which one would you prefer? The whole over softness of the picture is nicer on the OPPO in my opinion, but when we take a look at which one has the more popping out experience of this building, then it's definitely the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. It's a bit whiter or colder, a bit warmer here on the OPPO again with the exposure. Let's take a look at Timmy here. This shot, I took it at the same time, but at the phone side by side, and the Find X8 Ultra has the sensor slightly different positions. This is why it's not in the middle. In the middle, we have this halo effect around Timmy there again, because he is in the middle. This is the typical Xiaomi Leica authentic look. When we take a look at the detail levels, both are pretty much identical. Again, colder exposure on the white balance on the Xiaomi and a bit warmer there on the OPPO. The OPPO has a little bit, maybe also here the details are lacking a little bit there because we don't have so much high contrast. Here's a bit more contrast and sharpening applied on the Xiaomi. But in general, I think also that the Xiaomi has a bit of better HDR, and this becomes evident here. Otherwise, it's a bit of software look. I prefer the OPPO look here in all honesty. The next one, however, I think the OPPO's exposure is a bit too dark for the day because there was sun coming from behind. You saw the shot earlier with the ultra wide angle. This is the direction where the sun is shining on. And there, I think the Leica look here from the Xiaomi is doing a bit of better justice there. But it's a bit overexposing. Look at the color here. I like the color because it's more authentic on the OPPO actually. Sharpness, detail level, almost identical, but a bit softer all over the frame of the OPPO, which I like there a bit of better. This shot here using the telezoom lens on both with their first zoom lens of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and the first zoom lens of the Find X8 Ultra, or first zoom level we have to say on the 17 Ultra. Both a bit of silhouetting here. Colors nicely detailed and almost identical between those two there. Again, a bit of more warmth, but here you can see the clear difference with more contrast that we have added on the Xiaomi for sure, and more sharpening that is applied. Here you can clearly see that the OPPO is more DSLM-like, where the Xiaomi is a bit more digitalized looking. This one here is simulating a little bit of high HDR situation, photographing through this tunnel here with the bridge still not repaired. You can clearly see that, first of all, HDR is not so aggressively applied on the OPPO, but also either it's more aggressively applied on the Leica-powered Xiaomi, or the low fix sensor is really helping here. You get to know the color of the house there in the background, but here you can get to know a glimpse that there is a house even. So much nicer colors there, much more HDR processing here on the Leica powered Xiaomi. And again, with the blacks being deeper and a little bit more sharpening applied and a bit more whitening, white balance being a bit whiter on the Leica look. The Leica look looks a bit more like a digital photo, where the Find X8 Ultra looks a bit more like a filmic look that you get there, film camera kind of look. With the portraits, actually not a portrait mode, it's just 35mm with the main sensor. I think this kind of spotlight is really working nicely here in this case. I know that in some other cases it tends to overblow maybe a little bit the face, which is not what you really like. In terms of sharpness and detail level, again, it is a bit sharper on the Leica Xiaomi 17 Ultra, where it's a bit softer, maybe a bit too soft on the OPPO Find X8 Ultra, but this is a matter of taste here. The other thing is like the bit of greenish kind of tint, both have it, but we have a bit more warmish kind of colors for sure on the Xiaomi, like authentic look there. Both otherwise doing a fine job there. There's, in terms of color accuracy, look at my daughter's bed sheet there. You will see that the OPPO is much more accurate here. The True Chroma sensor is really working there with getting accurate colors, even in this master mode where it's stylized. It's not the accurate color. It's just way too punchy, way too wrong, way too cool there, the color on the 17 Ultra, which is a bit of interesting. So which one would you prefer here? It's a stylish kind of decision. I like the more stylish way for the 17 Ultra, especially when it comes to portrait shots, I have to say. When it comes to landscape shots and like taking it for a hike, for example, I would take the OPPO Find X8 Ultra because you get more natural kind of more DSLM-like quality with the natural kind of DSLM-like softness, not tending to over sharpen too much there. Where the Xiaomi is a more stylized look, a bit too contrasty sometimes. I think it also, even for buildings, sometimes it can work. It pops out the building a little bit more, doesn't make it look so flat. For nature shots, I would rather go with the OPPO Find X8 Ultra there. But you can tell me in the comments which one you would go with, which one you like better in this comparison here. The Leica authentic look with a bit more sharpening, a bit more contrasty kind of look, more vignetting, more spotlight in the middle, or the overall more DSLM soft film-like look that we get on the OPPO Find X8 Ultra using Hasselblad's master mode. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.